How do you measure a person's strength? Is it in how much weight they can lift? Or is it in how fast they can run? Or how far they can run fast? Is it how much influence they have over others? Or how big their bank account is? Welcome to Getting to Know Jesus weekly video devotion. I'm Glenn Koppel, Minister of the Word. This week's lesson comes from Lesson 36, which is found in Getting to Know Jesus, Volume 3. To follow along in your Bible, we're looking at another one of the Beatitudes. This one happens to be in Matthew chapter 5, verse 5. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Meek is not weak. We're looking at another one of the Beatitudes that Jesus gave on the Sermon on the Mount. And the Beatitudes can easily be translated into the Be-attitudes. In other words, the attitudes that we should want to have, the attitudes that we should want to live by if we want to please God and do what God desires or what God knows is best for our lives. Here, Jesus is saying that the meek will inherit the earth. What does he mean by that? Most people associate meek with weak. Oh, blessed are the weak, so they'll inherit the earth? No, that's not what Jesus is saying. Meek and weak are actually opposites. Meek is power under control. So many times we get this idea that if I've got a power, I got to flaunt it. I got to show you that I've got a lot of power, so you'll respect me and think that maybe I'm strong. Well, maybe you'll think I'm strong. Many people in life are like the little dog. You ever notice how it's the little chihuahua, the little dog that oftentimes barks the most ferociously, like he's going to hurt you? The big dogs, unless they're guard dogs, they just mill around. They're not afraid of you. They don't have to prove their power. Their size takes care of that for them. I've noticed that of a lot of people. Sometimes, not always. Smaller people feel a little insecure, and so sometimes they'll do things to try to flaunt themselves a little bit, make themselves look a little more powerful. And big people, sometimes you've heard the phrase gentle giant. He was a big man, but he was always kind and gentle, never had to push his way around. Well, there's kind of an idea of meekness there. You know you've got power, but you don't necessarily have to show the world that you've got power. It's not important to them. The greatest power is the restraint of power. Many years ago, a college professor said that that's God's greatest attribute. Not that he's got the power to create a world as beautiful as this, or to destroy us in hell for what we deserve or what we've done, but that he restrains that power. He cares so much about you and me that it's like he doesn't have to flaunt his power. His relationship with us is more than enough. It's like having a big car with a big motor, lots of horsepower to it. And you can slam on the gas pedal and spin those wheels and make lots of smoke and make lots of noise and accelerate quickly and go so fast you'll get a speeding ticket and endanger the lives of maybe yourself and likely others, depending on whether you're in a safe place to do that or not. But to accelerate at a more modest rate and without making all that shows self-control. That's meekness. That's restraining your power. Jesus wasn't a big man, at least not in physical stature. He was just your average Jewish guy. He just looked like you and me and everybody else. Nothing special about him. And yet he didn't have to flaunt his power. He didn't have to say, look at me and see how powerful I am or see what I can do. Of course, his miracles did a lot for him, but and there were some situations where in his quietness he exercised more power than his enemies, and even though he was outnumbered. We're going to get a chance to look at those as we're getting to know Jesus. Jesus knew who he was, he knew what he was to do, And if you accepted it, great. And if you rejected it, tough. It did not change him one way or the other. He was a true example of power under control. Restraint of power. Think of the times he was tempted, accused, abused, and a few other things. And he didn't flaunt it, or he didn't demand acceptance or tolerance or approval. He was silent even at his crucifixion, because he knew that if he hadn't have been silent at his crucifixion, he'd have stopped it. He had so much power that he had to stop himself from speaking, lest he thwart his own execution. And if he wasn't executed for your and my sins, we'd still be in our sin, there'd be no salvation, and this video would be totally worthless. And your time would too. As a Christian, I don't have to try to prove my power over others. I can be humble, but I can be strong, without being overwhelming or forceful. My character shows strength with me not doing anything to force or prove it to others. Just being faithful to Christ day after day. Just recognizing temptation when it comes my way and saying no to it. That is strength. And that is your greatest strength, to recognize temptation and say no when it comes your way. Are you meek or are you weak? Are you strong enough to stand for Jesus regardless of what happens? Or are you afraid that someone will find out that you're a Christian and look down on you, call you names, ridicule you, not want to do business with you, or want to persecute you in some way? I know there may be some people watching this video whose lives are in very danger if the enemies find out that they are Christians. I hope you're not in that situation. But I hope that if you are, or whether you are or not, that Jesus' power in you is far greater than any power that anyone would put against you, and that you'll stay faithful to Jesus in all situations. Jesus was meek, and yet he was strong for you. Be meek, but be strong for Jesus.